It's WG, bring your SNB, and there is so many different resources in this game that it's kind of easy to lose track. So I wanted to take this video to go over all the resources, all the ways you can get them, and also most importantly, the ways you can use them. It's again another video with a lot of different chapters, a lot of different topics, so feel free to jump to the topics that interest you the most or the resources you're looking for specifically. So let's start with the basic 3 resources, which are going to be Soli, your gold you could say, Pure Blood Essence, your hero experience, and then Divine Blood, your breakthrough experience. In order of importance it goes Divine Blood is your number 1 priority, then you have the Pure Blood Essence, so the hero XP, and then you have the Soli, and that is also because Soli is the easiest to get, then you get the Divine Blood, the Pure Blood Essence, and then you get the Divine Blood, that in order of how easy you can acquire them. And that is also because of the ratios in here. You get 360 gold a minute, or we are currently, the higher you get in campaign, the higher the idle system. We currently get 360 gold, only 33 Divine Blood, but 3200 hero experience. So why is Divine Blood the most important, and also where can you get it? I just went ahead and reset our Lamia right here so you can really see why it is so crucial. So here we are for level 120. If you want to bring a character up to level 120, you notice it is 21 million pure blood, 2.5 million gold, and 3,500 of the divine essence. Pretty fine, pretty good. Now if you just want to bring him to level 121, all of a sudden it is 8,000 of the divine blood, and that is because the thresholds from you only really start to notice them going from 60 to 61, 80 to 81, 100 to 101, 120 to 121, and also 140, 141, and so on and so forth. Like for example, the 140 wall is 7,000. So that means if you want to start getting your characters past 120, what you need is 5 times the amount of a single character in Divine Blood. So for us, it cost us 22,500 Divine Blood just to get everybody past 120. And that's why it's the most important resource, because it's the biggest roadblock. Now, there's a couple minor ways, but there's a really major way on how you can get yourself Divine Blood, and it has to do with these types of events. We're going to get and we're going to see multiple of these events, and they should all follow around the same structure, and we even have one opportunity for more Divine Blood tomorrow, and that is it involving the Nightmare mode. So the Nightmare mode on stage LH111 has the opportunity to give you 4 hours worth of Divine Blood per entry run. So every single day you'll naturally be able to get yourself 20 hours worth of Divine Blood. But then this is also where the importance comes in. Right here, these Scarlet Cords are at the end of the day just extra entries. And what you want to do is you want to use those extra entries, especially the closer you get to a roadblock, only on these right here. So you can start building up a Divine Blood stockpile. But why would it be a Divine Blood stockpile? Why not just use them instantly? But in general, you'll get, for example, around 170 to 200 hours worth of Divine Blood just from buying the extra entries, which, especially for this event, is also true for the S tiers Fade into the Sunset. So don't buy the extra cards, these tarot cards right now. Wait for tomorrow when it unlocks, and you can then again do the same thing on this event too, as well as also get multiple resources by buying out the event shop. So why is it about building a stockpile rather than using them instantly? The answer is pretty simple. You only ever need to use these Divine Blood resources once every one of your characters is at the wall. Before you've brought every single character to, for example, level 120 to move to 121 or 140 to move to 141, you do not need to use them. And the reason why you withhold on using them is because in the meantime, in working your way towards level 120, 140, 160, all that, you will be able to increase your idle level. And the higher your idle level, the more valuable these resources. So in general, these you save as long as you can up until you hit a roadblock, and that is when you then use them to either chunk away from the roadblock or break through it altogether. So that is Divine Blood and the reason why it's so important. Alright, another resource some of you might be curious about is player experience. Where do you get player experience? Why are some players higher leveled? Why are some players worse leveled? The main income is just the idle system. The idle system is going to yield you this memories echo, which counts as your player experience. Like for example, we have 50,000. And the reason why some are higher leveled, why some are lower leveled, is just because they're buying extra sermons. You could be buying extra sermons to increase your player level, but overall, if you don't buy the extra sermons, and especially starting from the 50 gem one, it becomes a worse and worse and worse deal. So yeah, the only reason someone is higher level is because they bought extra sermons. Next up, we have the experience. Now, experience and gold kind of do go hand in hand, and that is because you mostly use them at the same time for the same characters, and you also use them quite a lot. And that is right here. For example, for us, it would be 1.9 million and around 1.4 million. So Hero Pureblood Essence is a bit of an easier one. You're just going to use it, you're going to increase your character's level, and you'll be fine. And you also get massive amounts of Pureblood from not only clearing a story chapter or clearing a hard chapter, but also through these events right here, like these chapter missions give you a big boost in Divine Blood. And also there's achievements, like for example, this right here where we achieve 50 PvP victories and we get 700,000 Divine Blood Essence, as well as also right here on the Path of No Return, we'll get a massive boost in Divine Blood again, just from completing these stages each day, as well as a massive first clear reward. So these are in general easier to get, and I don't think there's much to say about them. Like when should you use these capsules? When should you actually get the hero XP? It is pretty much as soon as you cannot pass further in Threads of Fate, so campaign. If you cannot pass normal campaign, if you cannot pass hard campaign, and if you cannot pass any further in the tower, that is your sign to start using the experience and raise your character's level as well as overall BP. On the note of the tower, you do also get Divine Blood, but it's not a amount that really makes too much of a difference, but it is a nice source of getting extra ones as well as getting your gold or Soli, right? And then to finish off the last ways to get these more standard resources outside of the event shop and outside of like different events and gift codes, you have your dailies. In your dailies, you're going to get yourself a bunch of gold as well as some items to get more gold and obviously some gems. And then right here, you see even more on the weeklies right here, like for example, an 8-hour one, and then even in chapters, depending on where you are as of this moment, as well as also achievements, but most of them aren't something you can like really grind for. They just kind of happen over time. Okay, so now that we have the main and the most important resources out of the way, let's talk about the ones that interest you the most, right? And for that, let's talk about gems. What are all the sources for you to get gems, right? Gems you can obviously gain from just pushing in campaign. If you push in campaign, you'll for example unlock EX stages, and then you can use those EX stages to give yourself a boost of around 300 gems. So make sure that if you click on your chapters, you have all your EX stages done right here, and if you haven't, you can go back to them and do them for a nice boost in gems. Outside of that, gems as before, you can get them from your dailies at 100, from your weeklies at 300, as well as also obviously during these special events, during special gift codes, during other activities like for example the New Moon or an event shop. But overall, gems are not something you can farm in a specific place. Like for example the Infinite Abyss, at some point you won't be able to beat another stage, which means you also won't be able to get any more gems from there, which is where to a degree you could say arena does come in. Like for example, the current arena season goes on for another 2 days. If I'm not wrong, an arena season should be 2 weeks long, but I might be wrong on that. So if we go into the rewards, you see there's a daily reward and then there's also a season reward. The season reward obviously gets progressively better the higher you are in arena, but the amount of gems you need to invest to make it into these high arena spots isn't really worth the reward. Like for example, look at this 0.5% chance for a 10 pull, 78% chance to just get 130 gems, you're going to be spending way more than 130 gems to make your way to rank 1. So just play your daily arenas, get some nice extra gems right here if you can make it into, for example, let's see, top 1000. But it is not something that should be very high on your to-do list because it is quite hard to get. The same is kind of true for the gladiator rank, where if we take a look at the rewards, you see it is also another set of gems, but this one is even harder to get because you not only need to build 3 different teams, you need to compete against a bunch of ocean animals. So that is most of the gem sources covered. Yes, it doesn't look like a lot, but you will get them over time from different events and they just accumulate and accumulate. And as long as you don't spend them willy-nilly on weird stuff like, for example, the transfusion slots, then you are going to be fine with your gem income quite a lot. Then also, obviously, on the note of special events, you have something like the bi-weekly, so this should happen twice a week. You should be able to get, for example, another couple gems. As like at minimum, you're going to be able to get 300 gems, and then based on your percentage, you get more. Getting into these rankings right here shouldn't really be on your to-do list, but if you can make it happen, it is a nice extra reward. So those are mostly gems covered. Let's talk about specific gains of summon scrolls. So these Vestiges of Love, which are your premium summon scrolls, only really appear in 2 things. Number 1 is events, and number 2, so events also covers like login events, and number 3 is like, number 2 is event shops, right? Every time one of these events rolls over, you get a extra 10 pull right here and a 10 pull for the normal banner. So those are definitely more limited, but you should always be on the lookout to at least take them with you. The same is true for the other summons right here. So for example, in the hunt reward, just for beating these easier to achieve goals, you get a full 10 pull if you just participate in every single event. And on the note of 10 pulls, the Soothing Embraces, or better say the Blue Dawn banner, is by far way easier to get than the other ones because you get multiple from summoning events, you get multiple from normal events, you get especially quite a lot early on if you can reliably start clearing these chapters. You see you get a full 10 pull every time you clear one, and then you also obviously have them right here in your dailies, or better said in your weeklies. You get a summon here. They do tend to pop up in these stages right here quite a lot too, as well as obviously also in these achievements. So it is going to be rather, it's definitely going to be easier to accumulate the Soothing Embrace rather than the bigger ones. Now the last one for the summons is actually quite easy and quite straightforward. It's those Dusk Veiled Ribbons. If you haven't yet, make sure you go to your friends list, you get a couple of friends that are active, and just make sure that every day you can receive and also send out 30 of 30 hearts. And if you do that, you will be able to do a friendship summon with a 2% chance at an SSR per pull. So a friendship 10x every 4 days if you average 30 a day. Next up would be skill up resources. Skill up resources can be extra event rewards, like for example the Night of the Hunt, but your main income is going to be the Time Worn Mausoleum right here, where depending on your highest cleared stage for the day, you will be able to collect a huge amount of these rewards. And the higher you go, the more you get. Like for example, starting from stage 60, you'll be able to also get the highest rarity of those, as well as these crystal balls. And if you feel like it, you can also farm these achievements to get more of these trophies, to get yourself more of the unsorted knowledge, and then farm your way towards a couple higher special levels. But it is nothing that should be in like any super big rush for you. And then outside of that, you obviously have the fancy crystal balls. And those fancy crystal balls, they are quite useful. You do need them if you want to break through level 4 of your skills, so from level 4 to level 5, but they are also pretty expensive. In general, it is always smarter to just wait for these crystals to be the ones you need rather than buy the crystal ball of the inspired, because you're paying an upcharge just to be able to choose them. So just waiting for an extra rotation where the crystal balls you want are in is quite a good idea. And on top of that, I would only really recommend going for these crystal balls once you've unlocked the Crucible, because the Crucible is kind of like a idle gain for even more of these materials, and only at that point can you really sustain buying those while still having a somewhat realistic shot at working your way towards Pavana. How good she's actually going to be still remains to be proven, but at the end of the day it is a SSR that you can farm, that you can work towards getting higher up, so I would at least put a bit of value on that. The next resource we gotta talk about is Fragrant Residue. Fragrant Residue is what you get whenever you do a 10 pull on the Blue Dawn banner. 1 10 pull equals 10 Fragrant Residue. Every 20 10 pulls you will be able to spend these in the Echo Shop right here for a extra additional copy of one of the selected heroes that are on a rotation right here. But keep in mind, even if you buy a Van Helsing here, if you don't already own a Van Helsing, you're not going to get yourself an additional one. So the general opinion before was that you should kind of hold on to them and that you should wait until you, for example, hit the 160 wall and want to work towards getting a specific SSR up to level 200. But in general, I don't think it is justified at all to spend 200 of these shards on a Kane, even if your Kane is getting close to a 4th copy. So what you should do instead is you can buy any of the current big 5. So the big 5 would be a Cecia Spirit, a Spirit, let's do it in order, okay? So you would want to buy a Van Helsing Spirit first, because Van Helsing definitely gets the most out of his spirits with him being a DPS. Then you would want to buy a Cecia Spirit. After that it would be probably a Bella Spirit, then a Stereoid Iona Spirit, and then an Acapella Spirit. If you want to buy anybody else, you could also consider a Theobald Spirit, but in general you really want to mostly buy the relevant characters that you're going to use quite a lot and also for quite some time, because otherwise you're kind of going to be wasting that currency for nothing, and then working your way towards 200 on a good character is of more value than on something like a Kane. Alright, the next resource we gotta talk about is Spirit Scraps. Spirit Scraps you get from any of the summons, the Friendship Summons, the normal summons, or the Premium Summons, and the way you get them is you get 150 if you pull a rare character, 200 if you pull a SR character, and then 6000 if you pull an SSR character, but it needs to be a maxed out dupe. So I hope you never experience it. The only reason I know is because I unfortunately got multiple Lamias. But yeah, I hope you never experience having to get an additional SSR character ever. Without further ado, where do you actually use them and what is it used for? Ignore this, like ignore the advanced shards, ignore the awakening fragments, and ignore everything like that, right? The only item you should focus on are these perfect shards right here. And the reason for that is because the quantities and the amount of spirit scraps you would have to pay to get any return on investment on these shards is just not worth it. We'll go into where you can get them in a second, but just buy the perfect shards because you get yourself another SSR, a chance at top tier characters, a chance at filling out your roster, a chance at more niche characters like for example a Mask for some speedrun challenges or Octavius and the like. So always buy the perfect shards, don't feel bad, and don't gamble on advanced shards, people. Advanced shards, yes, they cost less, but also they aren't guaranteed SSRs, so only buy perfect shards, ignore the rest. So now that we get that out of the way, why would you ignore the rest? And that is just simply because events like these are meant to be bought out completely. Events are meant to be bought out completely, and it will also be really easy for you to buy them out as long as you buy yourself the extra entries, which you should do anyway to get yourself the extra Divine Blood as we discussed earlier. So you're going to get, for example, 100 of these, 150 of the fragment ones, and then also 150 of the armor ones, or even up to, what's that? Yeah, up to 150. And if you compare that to the prices, it's just not sustainable for these ones. Like, for example, if we go again into the shop, let's see if we can find it right here. If we wanted to buy 150 of these ones, we would be broke 10 million times over, and it would be a waste of spirit scraps. The only time you could go for those is, I guess, if you've maxed out every single SSR. I just don't recommend it, or like so many SSRs to the point that this one only yields you spirit scraps in return. Bad idea in general. Now onto the Anachronometer. The Anachronometer is used for skill resets, but it is currently unusable and unobtainable because there is no skill reset event going on. So if you were wondering why you cannot reset your skills, but you were able to do so like 3 or 4 days ago, that is because this event seems to be a periodic and reoccurring event, also indicated by the fact that these items aren't yet disappearing from your inventory. So by the next time we'll probably get 5 additional ones, and you could do, for example, 7 skill resets total. Alright, now let's talk about smelting ore. Smelting ore is at the end of the day nothing else than just a different look for gear. You'll be able to get yourself smelting ore just from playing these fights every day. Just get your 3 entries out of the way. You see, for example, it goes from 6 all the way to 11 of those, and you don't have to use smelting ore. You can also use gear instead to provide experience. Furthermore, a way to get yourself enhanced smelting ores is in the observatory. Like for example, if we were to upgrade the observatory to the 9-3, we would gain 5 extra blackened smelting ore if we fight Restless Spirit 1 or 2. Just keep in mind this costs a hella lot of money. So as always, be very careful with the observatory, especially for now. It is not going to be worth the returns as of this moment. And yeah, just pay attention, right? You don't want to run out of gold. Alright, so next up would be the blueprints to upgrade your artifacts to the next level, as well as in conjunction the guild coins, because they're used for the same thing. Number 1, you'll be able to get your first copy of these artifacts right from the Dutchman's Revenge here, and then at certain stages also, for example, an upgrade like this brings the Philosopher's Stone to 2, this one brings the Chronometer to 2, this one brings the Eye of Truth to 2, so you get some extra copies, and there's probably also going to be like 2 or 3 more stages to help you level these up, but then the rest of the level ups is going to come right here from the clan shop. So, with the clan shop, how do you get these coins? Currently there's only 2 ways. Number 1, you do your guild sign in, and number 2, you like a member. Could be you, could be anybody else. You're just overall doubling your guild coin intake. So make sure you log in, you give a member a like, and then the clan hunt hopefully provides us with more. And here's the clan shop. You see, for example, we have 5 of the 6 artifacts to be leveled. The 6th one would be the healer artifact, which for whatever reason isn't currently in the shop, but we'll probably lift that mystery some other day. Now, priority on which of these should you buy? In my opinion, safest bet is any of the DPS artifacts, and the safest bet without doing anything wrong would have to be the Philosopher's Stone, because it works on every single character, with this one only working on basic attacks and this one only working on debuffed enemies, so those are a bit more situational, and this one pretty much being summoner specific but having a good effect. So my advice for guild coins for now, just save them. Just save them. For example, you're not going to get towards level 5 anyway, it's going to take quite a lot of coins, so just save them up, keep them for now. At some point we'll be able to determine which exactly is the strongest one, and then you don't want to be lacking the guild coins to actually get the strongest or the meta artifact. Alright, so for those of you that do own the Full Moon Pact, you will get one of these chests every single day. What would be my picks out of those? Obviously, for like the earliest couple days, the earliest couple hero upgrades, the Neophyte, Insights or the Knowledge of Man would be best, and then the further you go, the more you want to focus on the more rare ones, but there is enough of a rarity split so that the rarest you get less of. All of these are pretty much fine depending on where you are. Like for example, if you really made a mistake or if you're currently broke for gold, pick the Soli. If you just want to level up your heroes, pick the Pure Blood. And if you want to break through a Divine Blood wall, pick the Blood chest. Alright, now we still have a resource left, and that is Affinity. Affinity is what you can get through a couple different ways. The main way that you are going to be able to notice is going to be the member meeting right here, where you can select your favorite vessels and push their affinity. Outside of that, you'll also be able to get them through stories. For these stories you have to use candles. Candles get refreshed every Monday, and then you can use, depending on your Hall of Honor, which is your achievement level, you can use more candles each week, and then you can finish these stories. Every story does yield you an affinity reward, and then you can use that affinity reward to push whoever you want. In general, you want to use affinity on DPS before everybody else, because you are going to get more attack, and more attack means your heroes are gonna deal more damage. Now the final items we gotta talk about are these perfect shards right here, and the way you can currently obtain them is only from the Infinite Abyss in the towers of their respective factions, and overall you're going to be able to get a guaranteed SSR every 30 stages. So you're going to get 54 shards every 30 stages, which means on 60 you'll have 108, and then you'll have 162 on stage 90. So this should have been every single important resource and where to best spend it. If this did help you out, a like or comment would help me greatly. And outside of that, as always, beautiful thanks to our precious members, and we see each other in the next one. Peace!